Tuhi Ka'at Lashanka Ka'at Ra'at Karina. Good afternoon, relatives. My name is Karina Gould. I am the spokesperson for the Confederated Villages of Lashawn. We are here today at what most folks think of as Lake Merritt. Welcome to the 150th anniversary of the celebration of this place being here. My ancestors have been here since the beginning of time. We are in the territory of Huichin. Huichin is actually a territory that encompasses 6 Bay Area cities: Oakland, Berkeley, Alameda, Emeryville, Albany, and Piedmont. And so this is a place that my ancestors have been since the beginning of time. Time ago, before other people came here, and this was created into a lake, it was a marshland. And my ancestors had village sites that dotted around the different places on the lake where we were fishermen and used the tule to create our houses, our boats, skirts, baskets, many other things. And this was a place of abundance. I'm so happy that people from all walks of life that now come into our territory can enjoy this beautiful place that my ancestors have enjoyed since the beginning of time. People in the Bay Area come here from all walks of life and from all over the world, and Oakland is one of these beautiful places that is magical and has probably 70 different languages that are spoken just here in Oakland. But at one time, the language here was Chochenyo, the language that I spoke to you in, and that we have been here since the beginning of time. And when colonizers go anywhere in the world to hold down land, the first things that they do is take away the tribal people's spirituality and their access to their own land bases. And so my ancestors were brought into missions, and 2 of those missions, Mission Dolores in San Francisco and Mission San Jose in Fremont, were where my ancestors were directly enslaved at. Many of my ancestors died of malnutrition. They were dying of heartbreak. They were dying of diseases. Like today, we're dealing with a pandemic. My ancestors dealt with those same kind of pandemics when other people came to our lands. Over the last 20 plus years, my relationship to the land that I have been born to, raising my children and grandchildren here, has been to tell the story, the truth of what happened on this land before other people came here. I'm hoping that as we begin to learn these lessons of fires in California, the pandemic that's happening, that human beings come back to living in reciprocity with the earth.
Welcome, everyone. We are so happy that you're here to celebrate the 150th anniversary. I'm Katie Noonan, and my co-chair of Rotary Nature Center Friends, David Wofford, is here to welcome you, and we'd just like you to enjoy our program and the wonderful opportunity to hear from so many different voices in celebration of the Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge. My virtual background here shows the biodiversity of Lake Merritt underwater, and this image was captured by a Trident drone underwater by students. You can see in this, behind me, the abundant exotic tunicates and sponges, and those tiny white dots that are right about there. Those are exotic Australian tube worms, and you'll hear more about them this evening. A shout out to the Lake Merritt Observatory for this photo, and you can search on YouTube Lake Merritt Observatory to see more beautiful underwater photos. So tonight, we will hear from 15 leaders in science, conservation, education, and environmental justice. There will be 2 panels encompassing the significance of the refuge in history, and also the second panel focusing on social justice and sustainability. You may ask a question in chat at any time. And now, to officially kick off our event, it's our pleasure to introduce our MC for this evening, John Sasaki.
Thank you very much, Katie, and thank you to everyone for joining us for the birthday celebration of an Oakland icon, the Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge. I am John Sasaki, your MC for the evening, and I only know how to pronounce sesquicentennial because we celebrated the 150th anniversary of Prescott Elementary School and Oakland High School last year. Now, as communications director for Oakland Unified School District, I want to say Lake Merritt is such an important resource for the kids of Oakland. It is a place of beauty, of exercise, of fun, of science. It's a natural gymnasium and a natural classroom. accessible to all of our students, regardless of their socioeconomic status or where they live in the town. I'm so grateful to be here to help celebrate this remarkable anniversary, especially because as a kid from Berkeley, some of my earliest memories are at Fairyland. I had one of those keys for a very long time. Now, before we introduce our panels, I'd like to acknowledge our civic leaders who are here to salute the sesquicentennial. Here's a message from Mayor Libby Schaaf.
You know, born and raised in Oakland, Lake Merritt is Oakland's living room. It's where everybody comes. And when you're a little kid, Lake Merritt means fairyland. When you get a little older, Lake Merritt means cute boys. I can tell you, I've had several first kisses right here. I had the pleasure of living at the lake, right on the lake, for 15 years as a young adult. Grew up volunteering and eventually working for a festival at the lake, but really just enjoying the nature. Being proud to know that this was our nation's first wildlife sanctuary. Getting to know the critters, waiting every year for the goslings to hatch and the little ducklings to follow their moms around. Always knowing about Hank, our resident pelican. And being a little kid searching in the Rotary Nature Center to try and find the queen bee in that plexiglass hive that never failed to fascinate me. Lake Merritt is a living classroom. It is a legacy of past leaders who knew that having open space, having a place for nature to thrive and interact respectfully with people, that is a lasting gift for generations to come. And that's what we have to do. We have to make sure that this gift keeps on giving, that we honor it, that we honor the wildlife, and that we continue to create a beautiful, healthy, peaceful, restorative place right in the heart of Oakland, and that's Lake Merritt.
Next up, it's my pleasure to introduce Councilmember Lynette Gibson-McElhaney, who is here with a toast to the lake.
Am I unmuted?
We can hear you.
Hi! Oh, I'm super excited to be with you all tonight to celebrate 150 years and to thank you for your continued stewardship here at the Rotary Nature Center. Like, there are so many things that fall apart in the first 15 minutes or the first 15 days, let alone 150 years. You all are doing an incredible, incredible job to hold on to Oakland's heritage, our love. I love listening to our mayor talk about the importance of the lake overall, but certainly we know that you all are doing a lot more in this ecology center to lead our nation in preserving our nature and to introduce next generation of ecologists and those who are going to be good stewards of the earth. So thank you for allowing me to be with you tonight. Here is a toast from another part of town while we are out here, but I toast you and I celebrate you and I thank you for 150 years of stewardship, of love leadership, and of leaving this legacy for the future generations. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate you. All right, next up we have Councilmember Dan Calb with another toast.
Hi, thank you, John. Appreciate it. I'm guessing you still have that key to Fairyland and you still use it.
I love it. Love going there.
Great to be here. Thank you so much to all who organized this, and more importantly to all the ongoing stewards of Lake Merritt and everything surrounding Lake Merritt, who work week in and week out to keep it the wonderful place that it is. As we know, one of the reasons we're here is the main reason we're here is to acknowledge and celebrate the fact that the lake is not just a recreational place for the humans who live in this area, but it's a wildlife refuge. In fact, it's part of the Pacific Flyway. So there are birds of so many species who come and go throughout the year to Lake Merritt. We do know that the official bird of Oakland is the black-crowned night heron. Very proud of that. We're very excited about that. And that species is here much of the year, but there are many other species who only come to visit once in a while. But if we didn't have the stops along the flyway, including Lake Merritt, it'd be harder for those species to survive. We are a wildlife refuge because we all know, we all believe, especially the stewards who take care of this wonderful lake environment day in and day out, week in and week out. We all know that humans are not the only important species on our planet. That biological diversity is fundamental to our survival, to our plant survival, to survival of us as a society and us as a natural society. So thank you to all who make that a reality, who defend and protect the diversity of our biological realities, and who protect the lake, the Pacific Flyway, part of the lake that is part of the Pacific Flyway, and all the birds and other species that use the lake for its habitat. Thank you so much. And a toast to the lake, 150 years. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Calb. All right, now for a toast from Councilmember Nikki Fortunato-Bass.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us to celebrate 150 years of our amazing Lake Merritt and Wildlife Refuge. I really just want to say thank you to the many, many volunteers that I've met in the couple decades I've lived here in Oakland. Katie and David in particular for your work with the Rotary Nature Center. And I want to say thank you for teaching our children about the environment, conservation, environmental justice, and stewardship of our open spaces. My daughter's now 16, but those playgrounds around the lake, not only Fairyland, but the 2 playgrounds around the lake is where she grew up. And the Rotary Nature Center taught her about all of the wildlife around the lake. The Junior Science and Arts Center taught her to become an artist. And I actually see on one of the panels, one of her former art teachers is also joining us. The Sailboat House taught her boating lessons. And, you know, more recently, we've been learning about pollinators. Not only is the sanctuary a place for birds, with the pollinator posse, it's also a place for our pollinators like the monarch butterfly. So I just want to say thank you for everyone who makes the lake such a special place for our wildlife and for the diverse communities who share the open space at the lake. There's so many people who make it what it is, from our volunteers to our city staff, to all of you who love our lake so much. So thank you and cheers.
Lots of cheers in here. All right, thank you so much, Councilmember Bass. Now we have a geological perspective from Andrew Alden of Oakland Geology blog.
My name is Andrew Alden. I've been writing the Oakland Geology blog since 2007, and I have posted more than 500 entries there. But I'm nowhere near running out of things to talk about. Oakland is a very interesting city to a geologist, and a good part of it is Lake Merritt. When the city fathers contacted their cronies in the state government in 1869 and said, "We're tired of all these duck hunters around the lake. Would you please pass a law that forbids fishing and hunting in Lake Merritt so that we can enjoy some peace and quiet?" When they did that, they didn't think that they were establishing a wildlife refuge. But since then, we have embraced it. They made a wildlife refuge despite themselves. And it was a lucky accident that it happened. And I salute that lucky accident. And I know that we're going to do things much more deliberately and more democratically now in the future. And I raise a toast to this occasion. And like I say, I hope I live another 150 years to see how much better things have gotten in that time.
All right, now as we start our panel discussions, here is a reminder. You can put your questions into the chat and we'll send them to the panel as time permits. There will be additional Q&A times at the end of both panels and again, after we're kind of wrapping up at 8:15. Our first group of panelists will discuss the history and science of the Wildlife Refuge. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jim Carlton, who will be the chair of this panel.
Thank you, John. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight. I collected my first marine life in Lake Merritt 58 years ago in September 1962. One of these was a tube worm, which, according to a display in the Rotary Nature Center, was said to be from the South Seas, an origin that immediately fascinated me, as I wondered how an animal from such a faraway exotic place could end up in Lake Merritt. Lake Merritt and the center soon became two of my primary nature classrooms. Paul Cavall, Rex Burris, and others at the center were my mentors, always willing to hear about my new finds and encouraging my explorations. I continued to visit and study the lake for more than a decade. From the 1980s until now, my visits have consisted of the windows of opportunity that presented themselves as I traveled back to California from here at my East Coast base. Lake Merritt directly seeded for me a lifelong career as a marine biologist and a lifelong interest in the intersection of science and the history of peoples and commerce, of how it came to be that so many species from around the world ended up creating a global accidental zoo in the lake. From Lake Merritt, I expanded to San Francisco Bay, and from San Francisco Bay to all of the Pacific Coast, and from the Pacific Coast to explorations around the world. But my roots always remained at the lake. Lake Merritt and its predecessors have represented for thousands of years a unique symbiosis between the natural world and the peoples of the Eastern Bay. Without the Nature Center and the naturalist staff, I suspect my career path may have been very different and far less exciting. The lake and the center have stimulated, motivated, and inspired generations of naturalists, and it is our commitment to continued stewardship of the resources that the lake and the center provide that will remain critical for many decades to come. It's my honor to introduce Paul Cavall's son, Jim Cavall of the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Jim?
Thanks, Jim. And again, I'm Jim Cavall, and my father, Paul Cavall, was the first municipal park naturalist for Oakland. And that, by the way, was another first for the lake. Oakland was the first city anywhere in the United States to have a municipal naturalist program. The city started a daily waterfowl feeding program at Lake Merritt as early as 1915. And for over 100 years, that 3:30 duck feeding attracted hundreds of residents and visitors to see what at times numbered thousands of ducks and geese that showed up for that daily feeding. In the 1930s, my father started narrating that feeding, adding an educational element, and the audience loved it. In addition, some dedicated volunteers started a seasonal bird banding program at the lake, and waterfowl from Lake Merritt helped scientists learn about migrations of waterfowl up and down the Pacific Flyway, and again, set records. And for a number of years, Lake Merritt Banding Station held the records for certain types of diving ducks that were banded there. The popularity of the naturalist program surged in late 1953 with the opening of the Rotary Natural Science Center. At last, the naturalist program had a real home base to work from, complete with displays, live animals, and an auditorium, and as you heard from Mayor Schaaf, a beehive as well. For over 50 years, virtually every student in Oakland Public Schools and other East Bay cities came on field trips to that Rotary Science Center to learn more about the rich natural heritage that existed right here at their doorstep in Oakland. Weekend programs to the general public, as well as outreach programs to camps and recreation centers and hikes in the Oakland Hills parks on the weekends, extended the reach of the naturalist program to all corners of the city. Now, some might argue the nature programs are an anachronism, but the need for today's urban dwellers to connect with nature is stronger than ever. The Rotary Nature Center and nature education are more relevant than at any point in the 150-year history of Lake Merritt as refuge. This is a proud point from Oakland's past, and we can continue well into the city's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Our next speaker is Dr. Andrew Cohen of the Center for Research on Aquatic Bioinvasions.
Thank you, Jim. The Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge was established to protect ducks. As Jim Cavall described, the lake became famous for ducks. Just a moment here. Zoom just blanked out my text. As Jim described, the lake became famous for ducks, and so it's not surprising that the first scientific program at the lake, undertaken in the 1920s, was a bird banding project that focused on ducks. What is surprising is that this first scientific project wasn't the work of professional scientists. Rather, it was conceived, funded, and directed by Lake Merritt's first citizen scientist, a Piedmont businessman and birdwatcher named E.W. Ehrman. The lake's next major scientific project, 40 years later, was also directed by a citizen scientist, a 14-year-old boy from Oakland named Jim Carlton. Although the Rotary Science Center helped with the conception of the project, and Jim's parents, I suspect, helped with the funding, the execution was all Jim's. He called his project the Lake Merritt Biological Survey, an effort to catalog all of the underwater life in the lake, which no one had ever done before, and which Jim pursued as an educational hobby for a full decade. This ultimately led him to becoming an actual card-carrying professional scientist and to the founding of a scientific discipline, the study of marine biological invasions. Lake Merritt remains the only wildlife refuge in North America to give birth to a new field of science. Today, the tradition of citizen scientists at Lake Merritt continues as hundreds of curious adults, teenagers, and children explore the life in the lake and its surroundings, photographing and describing their findings and sharing their observations with the world through internet forums like iNaturalist. Many have become knowledgeable observers and identifiers of the lake's marine life. As a scientist whose work has involved extensive reviews of historic scientific and non-scientific records in an effort to unravel the story of how aquatic ecosystems have changed over time, it's clear to me that the systematic observations and the remarkable photographs being compiled by the citizen scientists of Lake Merritt will support future discoveries and critical analyses that today we can only guess at. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks so much, Andy. Our next speaker is Dr. Richard Bailey of the Lake Merritt Institute.
We clean up Lake Merritt, remove trash, improve the water quality. We've put in aeration fountains, and we've educated a whole generation of students about this unique downtown natural resource. For 150 years, the land has provided educational opportunities for us to learn about wildlife and about ourselves. Today, these opportunities continue and have become even more important as the world staggers under the threat of climate change. On this slide, you see last Saturday, the dock at Lake Chalet, it flooded. Most of it was due to high tide, but a small part of the flooding was due to sea level rise caused by climate change. The flooding will continue because the oceans are warming, polar ice caps are melting. We cannot cool the ocean. We cannot freeze the ice caps. Sea level rise will continue. The rise is small now, but children being born today may experience a time when Lake Merritt flooding overwhelms the flood control gates and the Rotary Nature Center. You might need boots to enter the building and by 2080. We don't want this. So what we need to do is to learn about climate change and what we can do about it. To make this happen, I have donated a digital photo screen. Can we turn the slide off here? I'll show you the digital photo screen. I've donated one of these to the Rotary Nature Center, and hopefully it can be placed in a display case where it will show continuous short climate education videos. Walk by, wave your hand, activate the motion sensor, and a little 3 or 4 minute video starts for everybody to see. So hopefully this can be installed as a larger program about climate education at the Nature Center. I'd also like to say a few words about the intersection of the refuge and social equity. This was published in the Montclarian newspaper in 1994. Possibly the greatest value of Lake Merritt and her greatest lesson is that it exists without prejudice. It does not judge us. In the melting pot that is Oakland, there exists a natural resource of which we may all partake equally, that is there for man and master. It flows on forever and offers its beauty to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Our next speaker is Dr. Joel Parrott of the Oakland Zoo. Joel.
Thank you. And I'm Joel Parrott. I'm the president and CEO of the Oakland Zoo. And I would like to, first of all, congratulate the Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge on their 150th anniversary. I think it's a tremendous achievement and tremendous vision that occurred 150 years ago. Because the Lake Merritt itself and the refuge itself is much like the Oakland Zoo, in that we are in an urban environment, and we are the first step in many cases for urban kids to actually introduce themselves and be introduced to nature itself. You know, and what we have on the screen is the jaguar, which we have basically two species that really highlight California native species that we forgot to leave room for in our state. So the last jaguar was killed in California in 1857. The grizzly bear is on our state flag. Those were species that we did not leave room for. But what Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge does is it leaves room for wildlife, especially on the Pacific Flyway, to be able so that we can, both people and nature can coexist and thrive with each other. So you've got the support of wildlife itself, but in addition to that, we're the first connections for so many people to nature itself. And it is one of the great things that I think the Wildlife Refuge does. Because, you know, if I go to Serengeti National Park very often, and their attendance is about 650,000 people. But we have countless people that visit the Wildlife Refuge in Lake Merritt every year. And so if we want to really influence people and give them an exposure to the challenges that we have facing us in the future, who has the better opportunity to do that? Even though Serengeti is a global treasure, Lake Merritt actually reaches more people to introduce them. And so those two critical things that Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge has been doing for 150 years, and hopefully will do for another 150 years, I think is really a testimony to wildlife refuges in an urban environment. And so for that, we are very grateful for the refuge.
Thank you, Joel. Our next speaker is Dr. Robert Rayburn from BART.
Thank you, Jim. Again, my name is Robert Rayburn, and I'm honored to serve on the BART board representing the public. On this 150th anniversary of the Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge, I want to thank the Rotary Nature Center for their work with birds and people. Before 1870, when California's Governor Haight established the nation's first sanctuary for migrating birds, San Francisco's visiting miners and robber barons feasted on eggs poached from Lake Merritt nests. Before 2002, when Oakland voters supported a $200 million bond measure DD, Lake Merritt's shoreline sanctuary had suffered from decades of roadway expansion. As an advocate to revert the onslaught, I campaigned to remove the world's shortest freeway, as a late friend referred to the 12th Street Dam. Thanks to these two political acts, Lake Merritt today offers habitats for birds as well as people seeking refuge from the pandemic. We indeed have reasons to celebrate. In 2017, a group of third graders succeeded in another political act when Oakland City Council affirmed the black-crowned night heron as the cool and funky official bird of Oakland. Trees are filled with nests, and sidewalks are overflowing with joggers, strollers, and even protesters. The largest public assemblies in Oakland's history, 2 Warriors Championship rallies and the women's marches, have been staged on the expanded shoreline parks created by Measure DD. 3 nearby BART stations offer visitors access to these bird and people habitats from 5 different counties. Special low fares are available for youth, seniors, and low-income passengers. My goals for the next 150 years are that the Rotary Nature Center continue to protect our nation's first wildlife refuge and inspire young naturalists and future generations of environmental scientists. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Our next speaker is Pam Young of Golden Gate Audubon.
Hi, I'm Pam Young, Executive Director for Golden Gate Audubon Society. The Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge and the Rotary Nature Center are vital to our mission to engage people to discover the wonder of birds and translate that wonder into actions which help protect wild birds and their habitat. Since 1917, we have furthered the ideals of community science and welcomed our diverse, equitable, and inclusive community to study over 200 species of wild birds that depend on Lake Merritt. We engage in conservation through our classes that we conduct at the Nature Center and the field trips that we lead around Lake Merritt every year during the fall and spring. We engage in stewardship through our eco-education program for hundreds of students in underserved communities. We're committed to equitably sharing our love for wild birds and their habitat and advocating for a healthy environment in all our communities. Every wild bird and every human is entitled to clean air, clean soil, and clean water in our urban environment and at Lake Merritt. What's good for birds and Lake Merritt is really good for humans. So thank you very much and happy birthday, Lake Merritt.
Thank you, Pam. Our next speaker is Susan Schwarzenberg of the Exploratorium. Susan.
Yes, thank you. I'm Susan Schwarzenberg, the Director of the Environmental Arts and Sciences in the Bay Observatory at the Exploratorium. As an educator, I want to join you in Lake Merritt to make our region resilient and climate smart. At the Exploratorium, we have a program called Wired Pier. It is a system of scientific instruments in the water and on our roof. These live sensors allow us to monitor long-term air and water quality, weather, and the changing tides and currents of the bay. We explore ways to help our visitors become data literate and passionate observers so we can work on environmental challenges and use that knowledge to strive for climate justice. Through this program, we met Katie Noonan and David Wofford. Over the past 20 years, Katie works with her students to monitor and steward the environmental changes at Lake Merritt. Our work together began with searching for partners with artist Rostin Wu. Rostin and Katie met while working with UC Berkeley's Beacon CO2 Observing Network. They asked what it might be like to create a community-based sensing program monitored by non-scientists. With Exploratorium engineers, Rostin designed an air quality instrument that responds to particulate matter in the air by setting off a series of very pleasant visceral chiming sounds. Katie immediately offered to host a sensor at Lake Merritt, and even though the program ended months ago, Katie and her students continue to keep the sensor in really good working order, and you can go there and listen to the sound of particulate matter in the air. Because of Katie, David, and the students and colleagues of the Rotary Nature Center friends, we see a strong synergy between the work we do at the Exploratorium, and we really love the idea of a Lake Merritt Observatory and perhaps a string of observing hubs around the Bay Area where together we can help give rise to a new generation of citizens who will care and continue to bring attention to the story of our landscape and work toward regional resilience. Congratulations to all of you in Oakland for leading the way through your long-term stewarding of Lake Merritt, a true gathering place for the city, as everyone has said. Your deep commitment really showed through during this year of your anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And back over to you, John.
I thank you, Jim. I thank all the panelists. Thanks very much for that fascinating talk. And I wish all of our students were on this line right now hearing just a great science lesson. By the way, I interviewed Joel Parrott from the Oakland Zoo in my former life, and he is the most appropriately named person since the Highway Patrol in San Francisco had a public information officer named Sean Chase. I just want to point that out. We do have another toast that I want to mention. And this is from the E.O. Wilson Biodiversity Foundation. And this is just a very heartfelt thank you to all the naturalists, teachers, scientists, and volunteers congrats on the 150th anniversary of the Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge, the nation's first. Congratulations to all the good folks associated with Lake Merritt. Important history and ongoing great work. 3 cheers for urban biodiversity. So the refuge has had an impressive past, but what about the future? Coming up, we will hear from a group of second graders from one of our great schools, Cleveland Elementary School. Like Oaklanders before them, it seems they are also for the birds.
Hank, the female white pelican, has been a resident of Lake Merritt for 16 years. She was transferred to the Rotary Nature Center by the Fish and Wildlife Service as a rescue animal because she cannot fly. Popularized by James Robinson's book, A Bird's Tale, she has become a mascot and an ambassador for wildlife in Lakeside Park. In February, Ms. Lau's and Ms. Fong's classes from Cleveland Elementary School visited the Wildlife Refuge to learn more about the birds and their environment. The children learned that after 15 years of care by Nature Center naturalists, Hank is no longer being fed by city naturalists in the winter, after the rest of her species has taken off on the Pacific Flyway to the wintering grounds. They decided to advocate for Hank by writing letters to the mayor on her behalf.
Hi, my name is Lila, and I'm in 2nd grade. My teacher is Miss Lau. My school is Cleveland. We went on a field trip to learn about the food web and watershed. Some kids saw Hank and the white pelican. Hank got injured by flying into a power line. I learned pelicans have 4 toes. I learned brown pelicans have cushions under their skin where their wing is so they don't hurt themselves when they dive.
Hank can't fly where it's warm. Hank's friend come 4 months a year only. The other months poor Hank has no other pelican to help her hunt for food.
We went on a field trip to learn about birds, watersheds, and food webs. We saw Hank and we learned about white pelicans. I want Hank to have a good, healthy life. She only can get a few fish on her own. Please feed Hank.
That Hank should be supported right here. It's such a model for support what people can do for wildlife.
That is amazing. Happy 150th to you, Hank. Hank, we understand, is about 20 years old. Now, I do want to point out that one of our panelists, or one of our friends who's on the line, pointed out to me, along with Sean Chase and Joel Parrott, there's also the Claude Organ Surgery Unit at Highland Hospital. Dr. Organ was the chief of surgery for many years. That is a great name as well. And by the way, I wanted to point out, I think that all of you will appreciate the fact that Cleveland Elementary School, one of the great things about that school, and there are many, many great things about that school, and all of our schools know USD, but at Cleveland Elementary, they grow their own food. They have salad day, they have soup day, they have red hen day, and they use the food that they grow on campus to create these great big celebrations where they get to enjoy a salad that they made, that they created all themselves. So it's a really fun a way for them to learn about fresh food and about sustainability and about tending to their own vegetables and all that stuff. So, and I've been able to get over there a few times and see them doing it. It's just really, really fun for the kids, and they learn so much doing it. So you guys would all appreciate that. All right, so our second panel takes up the idea of the refuge as a call for future stewardship in Oakland and beyond, and a call for equity and environmental justice long neglected. Reminder, you may type questions in the chat and we will send them to the panel as time permits. There will be a Q&A time at the end of this panel, and again a little bit later. Dr. Janice Lord Walker will chair this panel. Welcome, Doctor.
Hello, I am so happy to be a part of this group tonight. It is really exciting just listening to the speakers that have come before. But I'm here to actually welcome our first speaker, Allison Chan from Save the Bay.
Thank you very much. I'm Allison Chan, and on behalf of the tens of thousands of Save the Bay supporters around the region, our congratulations to the Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge and the Nature Center. We thank you for doing so much to protect the great natural jewel in the midst of this bustling city and to teach generations of residents to love and embrace nature. One of the many special things about Lake Merritt is how accessible it is to the diverse population of Oakland and surrounding cities, and how much this natural open space and wildlife add to the quality of life and health of our city. People of all backgrounds and economic means benefit from the lake and its nature because so many people contribute to caring for this lake and the wildlife it supports. Save the Bay is very proud of the efforts local citizens have made to protect the lake for all of us, removing trash, repairing public access facilities, and also to approve parks funding bonds in the last few years to pay for improvements and reconnect the lake to the Oakland estuary and the bay. We also need to keep pushing the city of Oakland to screen more trash from stormwater so it doesn't flow into Lake Merritt and the bay. In a very challenging year and a time of division in our nation, Lake Merritt and the bay unite us all. This natural beauty and accessible open space remind us what we can achieve when we come together. We all benefit from stewardship of nature, and it's so rewarding to make Lake Merritt a better place for our kids and generations to follow. Thank you again, and congratulations from Save the Bay.
Thank you, Allison. Our next speaker is Dr. Olga Bolotina from the Sierra Club. I thought I saw her.
I'm talking all to myself. I'm very animated. While I was saying how wonderful it is to see so many familiar faces and so many people that are joining, I think that, first of all, Rotary Nature Center, Katie, thank you so much for an amazing event. Very excited to be a part of it. I'm just really honored, and wow, I want to learn how to organize events from now on from you. For sure. Well, first of all, I wanted to, I love this phrase by Baba Diome. In the end, we will only conserve what we love. We will only love what we understand. And we will understand only what we taught. And so many of us talk today about the importance of learning about the climate change and about nature. And as the Sierra Club is reckoning with our own history, this year in particular, we are constantly reminded that we cannot save our environment without first taking care of the people. And as Dr. Janice Lodwalker, we had a little bit of a fun playing around with doctors. I'm a recovering veterinarian, so I'm officially a doctor, also can be called. We talked about the fact that so many people cannot afford to take a bus, to take a car anywhere in the Bay Area. We take for granted that we can go on the trails and go to the ocean and explore our amazing habitats. And unfortunately, so many people, especially young people, are cut out of that opportunity. And I think that Lake Merritt provides such an amazing spot for everybody to enjoy nature. And if you spend enough time at the lake, I saw seals actually, or sea lions. I don't know. You nature lovers, you need to tell me. I didn't, it was just a glimpse. And of course, the birds and the fish, when the fish comes in the lake, it's an amazing sight, and the bird feedings. So we need to protect the lake, and as the National Sierra Club has the program, the Inspiring Connections Outdoors, which makes the particular point of taking youth outdoors and educating and training our next generation of environmental and social justice leaders. So we here at the chapter, the Sierra Club Bay chapter, we have a climate change literacy committee, and they're doing an amazing job at implementing climate literacy at Oakland schools and all around the Bay. So very proud of their work, and hopefully we can partner with the Rotary Nature Center and do maybe some work together. We also are committed to making sure that trash does not get into the lake and ultimately friendly to the Bay. So very excited to partner with the city and with other volunteers. I want to take a moment to give a couple of shout outs to Dan Calb, who actually did pass, put forth the resolution about the night heron being in the official city bird. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the city of Oakland for all of their work in making sure that entrepreneurs have the opportunity to have safe and designated spot to continue their businesses, because right now everybody is struggling, and every opportunity we can provide to have for people to work and to continue with their businesses is amazing. So thank you so much. We need to take care of people so the people have time, desire, and passion to take care of nature. Thank you so much, and excited to continue the work together.
Thank you, Olga. Our next speaker is Ellen Corbett of the East Bay Regional Park District Board of Directors, President.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lord Walker. Congratulations to all on the 150th anniversary of the Wildlife Refuge. I'm Ellen Corbett, President of the East Bay Regional Park District. Stewardship and equity must go hand in hand. Ensuring that outdoor spaces are open and accessible to all secures the sustainability of stewardship for the future. The East Bay Regional Park District has a rich tradition of programming to bring the young people of the East Bay to our parks to learn and experience the natural history of our open spaces, and to provide opportunities to support and inspire our stewards of the future. In spite of COVID-19, we have expanded our outreach because we have gone digital. You can see from this slide a few examples of that. You can now go to the East Bay Regional Park District website and find our naturalists providing stories about the history of our parks, the geology of our parks, and about the wildlife that makes its home in our parks. And in fact, on that slide, you can see the website address and where you will find these programs. It makes me think about the work that is being done today, even digitally, is a continuation of what was started over 150 years ago at the Wildlife Refuge. It makes me think of the many people over the years who were able to touch nature at the Wildlife Refuge, who went on to be advocates for the environment. I know because I was one of those kids who came to visit to see the birds and the ducks being fed. And it was quite exciting as a kid to be able to get up close to see a pelican or a night heron. I can only think how people visiting the refuge over the years were likely those who were inspired to establish the East Bay Regional Park District 85 years ago. So it comes full circle. At the East Bay Parks today, we provide that close-up touch to nature and the natural world, welcoming all of our surrounding communities to support and inspire our stewards of today and tomorrow, who will then in turn inspire the future generations. The future is bright. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Our next speaker is Dee Rosario, East Bay Regional Park District Board of Director, Vice President.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. Hi, my name is Dee Rosario, and I'm a member of the board of the directors for the East Bay Regional Park District. And the members, other members of the board would like to extend their congratulations to the Rotary Nature on their celebration of the Lake Merritt Wildlife Sanctuary. Access to our parks is an equity issue and is a priority for the East Bay Regional Park District and will continue into the future. As you see in the map, we are quite large. The East Bay Regional Park District is the largest park district in the nation at 73 parks, 123,000 acres with over 1,200 miles of trail and 55 miles of shoreline. A recent survey shows that unless we live near a park, you need to have a car. And that's one of the issues we need to tackle after we get through this pandemic. Pre-COVID, the Park District was able to provide 40,000 school children an opportunity to get to a park and participate in a naturalist ed program, as seen in the slide showing naturalist Virginia Delgado conducting a class at Black Diamond Regional Preserve. However, these popular programs outstrip the capacity of local charter bus systems in both counties, creating a backlog of requests and forcing schools to have to participate in a lottery, which was not ideal and restricted how many children we could reach. For the community at large, the Park District conducted monthly multicultural wellness walks where we engaged with local faith and community organizations and provided transportation to parks they would not otherwise get an opportunity to visit. In the slide, you'll see the community members from the city of Richmond explore Sunol Regional Park in southern Alameda County. If you can't get people to a park, you've got to bring the park to the people. A key component to park access is to try and connect existing city and regional parks. The Park District continues to work with our neighboring cities to connect to the Bay Trail and the Bay Area Ridge Trail as well. Two great examples here in Oakland is the connection of Lake Merritt via Estuary Park to the Bay Trail along the estuary. And the second shining example is the Diamond Park to Joaquin Miller and Reinhardt Redwood Regional Park and the Bay Area Ridge Trail in the Oakland Hills. There are many opportunities. Together we can make them happen. After all, the same energy that created the Lake Merritt Wildlife Sanctuary also created the first Oakland City Parks and also gave birth to the East Bay Regional Parks. Thank you. And again, happy birthday to the Lake Merritt Wildlife Sanctuary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. D. Rosario. Now, we pause here for the geology update. It seems that the Earth is trying to tell something. Here's Andrew Alden.
The lake is an arm of the sea, and it changes with the sea level, not just as the tides rise and fall, but as the sea itself rises and falls. And for the last 2.5 million years, the sea has been rising and falling with dozens of ice ages. The sea level falls when there's more ice, and it rises when the ice melts. The sea has not stopped rising and falling. It didn't stop with the ice ages. In fact, geologists were still in an ice age. But we have also interrupted that cycle of ice ages by pumping the atmosphere full of carbon dioxide. And that's what global warming is about. It's as if we're entering a super interglacial like that one 125,000 years ago. Our best forecasts are we will have a meter or two of sea level rise between now and 2100. You take a walk around Lake Merritt today and you picture that rising a couple of meters, 6 feet, 7 feet. Well, that's going to go over the seawalls. It's going to go over onto the pathways that you're walking on, almost all the way around the lake. And even some of the street intersections will get underwater. They'll be permanently underwater, especially at high tide. And as an Oakland geologist, I just want to say that Oakland's geology is for everyone in it. I firmly believe that Black lives matter. Outdoor Afro was founded in Oakland, and it has brought Black people into the wildlands on their own terms, and it's a wonderful organization, and I recommend it heartily. Oakland is an activist city, and one of the pieces of activism that I particularly appreciated was their activity to keep shipping coal out of our harbor, out of our port, because the most important single thing we can do to stop global warming is to stop burning ancient carbon. For Oakland is an ambitious and capable city, and I hope to live long enough to see concerted effort going into how we prepare for sea level rise.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Carl Anthony at this time. Carl Anthony is a co-founder and co-director of Breakthrough Communities. I read some of his articles, and I'm so grateful that we have someone in our midst, American architect, regional planner, social justice activist, and author. We are very, very fortunate to have him on.
You know, being a blind person in the last 5 years of my life, I've had to face many challenges. But the thing that really comes to the point in my life is that we are at a pivotal process in the evolution of human life on the planet. And how do we learn how to live in a world that has been so cruel to the people of the planet, but also of many of the lives of many creatures and animals upon which we depend? So as we think about the importance of this celebration, we need to realize that this wildlife in many ways is a resource that is going to help us move to the next phase, where we won't have to depend on automobiles to get to nature, but we'll be respecting nature as an integral part of our life. And I would just humbly submit that the celebration of this moment taking place in our city, in the middle of our city, is a celebration about the pivotal period that we're living in. After all, the 150 years that is what we're celebrating was also the celebration of the Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, that Black people began to get the rights of being citizens in this culture that is now celebrating the importance of animals and is also celebrating the importance of the Black people, who are part of a legacy of our whole human community that stretches back to the times that we have forgotten about, that was mentioned in the first speaker of the evening, of the Native people who made it possible for us to settle in this wonderful country. And we're now at a point where our lives and our situation is at a pivotal point where we have to reinterpret all of the institutions of our life in a way that the preservation of nature is teaching us that we need to learn how to live on this planet. So thank you very much for this celebration. Thank you very much for this moment of reflection that will act as a prelude to the future of humanity in the face of climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl Anthony. I really appreciate your words and your thoughts. Our next speaker will be Joe Sen, Environmental Justice Caucus of OEA.
Good evening. My name is Joe Sen. I'm a teacher at Oakland Tech High School. I'm here also representing the Environmental Justice Caucus, which is a group within the Oakland Teacher Union. See, I've been living in the Bay Area for more than a dozen years now, and my favorite place is Lake Merritt. It's very iconic, and it's a very beautiful place. Before I talk about my work there, or our work there, I would like to give a quick shout out or appreciation to the Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge, cities, parks and recs, especially the Rotary Nature Center, Director Joel Moore, and also the Rotary Nature Center friends, especially Miss Katie Noonan. These groups of people, plus many others, have provided my students access to appreciate nature, taught them about community resilience, and also challenged us to develop our climate change literacy skills. So I teach AP Environmental Science, and one of the main themes that I like to, or narratives I like to share with them, is the idea of community. And what oftentimes our common definitions include a community it's about shared space, which provides a rich shared experience. And that's exactly what Lake Merritt does. It provides a multitude of people and the community to come together and to have, to engage each other and have conversation. Recently, I discovered that Michelle Obama said it's harder to hate people up close. So when people can meet safely and conversate and talk about their past experiences and current struggles. Oftentimes, our students and our community members they have different challenges in their life. So that's a great social inequity, even in a great city like Oakland. So as a school teacher, I realized that that's the reality. I also realized that it takes a village to empower our students to make positive life choices in their lives. So I was fortunate enough to find the Environmental Justice Caucus, which is a bunch of teachers and retired teachers, which work together to help other teachers create lesson plans and also to challenge each other and also to work with our community members. One of them being Rotary Nature Center friends. One of the things that we learned, or my students learned, is that people are part of nature, they're not apart from it. We are all tied together, and it's our intersectionality that binds us together. So Lake Merritt has provided them experiential learning. It's a place where they can do service-based projects centered around, again, climate change, natural resources, watershed pollution, many other things. And then I think the sense of community is that if you want to improve your community, you have to work for it. And by working together, we can all increase the quality of our lives. Thank you for listening. Again, my name is Joe Sen, representing Environmental Justice Caucus.
Thank you, Joe. Now I'm supposed to be the final speaker tonight. So I know that a lot of people have said the same things that I've said because I just love the lake. The East Shore Park is where my husband and my children that are all fully grown now that are listening on TVs, one in New York, one here. They played baseball, they played soccer, they swung on the swings. Lakeview Library was a place that we always went to. Every activity they had, we were there. We went to the Rotary Nature Center and looked at every little fossil and every artifact that they had. We fed the ducks at the lake. One of my sons went to the Junior Art and Science Center. Children's Fairyland is where we had the birthday parties. I like to walk the lake 3.4 miles. When I'm happy, and I walk the lake when I need to walk the lake as for relaxation and clearing my mind. As a science teacher, I used to go to the lake and get water samples for my class to investigate so they can see microorganisms and they can see protozoans. They can test the pH and they can test the salinity. I also have other things that I do in this district. So Special Olympics I'm a coach, and at the lake, we actually practice soccer on Saturdays during the fall season. Clausen House, which is a social service organization, does walkathons to raise money there. We've had college and university scholarships for African-American males as we walked along the lake and collected money. We have festival at the lake before. Now we have Art and Soul Festival, but instead of just having craftsmen show their wares once or twice a year, we have them showing their wares every day. And we have our food trucks. When we're happy at Lake Merritt, if we're happy in Oakland, we celebrate at Lake Merritt. If we're protesting, we protest around Lake Merritt. I think I just love Lake Merritt. So thank you, Katie, and thank you, David, for inviting me to be one of the friends of the Rotary Nature Center. I enjoy the cleanup sessions, and I'm going to enjoy the planting of the pickleweed very soon. Anyways, thank you so much, and I'm going to give this back to John. Thank you so much. Wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Walker. And to Mr. Sen, I just want to say, Mr. Sen from Oakland Tech, go Bulldogs, and thank you very much. Thank you to all of our speakers and to you, our audience, for gathering to celebrate tonight. For me, I just want to say that anytime I drive by Lake Merritt, anytime I walk it, anytime I'm at an event at any one of the locations there, the Oakland Marathon, the celebrations for the Warriors, all the other things that go on there, what I love about Lake Merritt is that you get to see America in a microcosm. Because our city is so diverse, one of the most diverse places anywhere, you're there in an afternoon for a big event, doesn't matter what it is, you see what America is. You see, you know, all different colors, all different backgrounds from different countries. You see what America is all about, the melting pot that our country is. And that just makes me feel so good about where we live and how we get to celebrate something like this. So thank you all so much for being here tonight.
John, just quickly, I would also
Yes,
like
sir.
to thank the city of Oakland and all of our partners and volunteers and sponsors who have helped to make the Rotary Nature Center Friends work possible and this program possible. And I want to thank you and all of our viewers for joining us this evening. And a lot of very, for me, important things were shared, and I'm hoping that we can continue these discussions and conversations, and as we all continue to thrive and endeavor to thrive in the world and the natural environment that we live in. So thank you all. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Wofford, and to kind of dovetail with you there, I want to say thank you especially to KTOP, Oakland Unified School District, civic and community leaders, scientists, policy leaders, activists and guests, the Frederick E. Hart Foundation, Visit Oakland, and other banner donors. You can see those at lakemerritt.org. John Kirkmeyer for videography, Rotary Nature Center Friends, Oakland School for the Arts, San Francisco Elks Lodge number 3. So thank you to all of our supporters, and thank you for being here. We're going to continue the discussion here, plenty of time for Q&A. So we're going to just do a little happy hour on a Friday night. So thank you for being here, and have yourselves a great weekend.
Thank you for all of the amazing speakers and all the people in the audience, and to all of my members of Rotary Nature Center Friends who have put a lot of work into getting this together. It's been a wonderful opportunity to get to know everybody. So we're going to play trivia now.
Hey, welcome everyone. I'm super excited to be a part of this event tonight. As Katie said, I am a teacher at Oakland School for the Arts, and I'm going to be presenting some trivia questions that students in my History of Oakland class, which specifically focuses on Lake Merritt. These are questions that the students came up with, and then Katie threw in a couple of tricky science ones in there that the kids hadn't thought of. So let's go ahead and start. And as she mentioned, there are prizes for this fabulous trivia contest. First person to answer a question in the chat will win a commemorative t-shirt, and this was designed by Rex Burris, who was a naturalist at Lake Merritt for over 40 years. So wonderful design there. As I understand, it was used for the 130th or a similar design. It's getting used. So we're super excited that there's prizes. Okay, question number 1, kind of a warm-up question. First in the chat wins. Is Lake Merritt really a lake? Is Lake Merritt really a lake? I'm seeing some answers here. Lots of no's, and in fact, no. Lake Merritt is a large tidal lagoon or estuary, and there's some fun facts there. The water in Lake Merritt comes from several creeks and tributaries in the Oakland Hills, as well as the San Francisco Bay. Okay, next question. What type of water does Lake Merritt contain? Okay, I see some correct answers in there. And that was by Mayanne, who's a 9th grader. And you are correct. The answer is brackish, which is a mix of salt and fresh water. It's fed by both those creeks, which carry fresh water, and of course the San Francisco Bay, which is salt water. Our next question. Which indigenous group lived and fished around the area that is now Lake Merritt? And there's a few answers that could work. I see some of the correct ones. Let's see if anyone can go a little deeper, because Ohlone is the correct answer, but there are 2 other answers that I would accept. Chochenyo is an even better answer. We'll explain why in a moment. And there's one more that even goes a little bit deeper. Anyone know that? I'm not seeing it in the chat yet. Temescal is an interesting answer. That is actually a word, I believe a Spanish word that means sweat lodge. Okay, let's move on to answers there. Yes, the Ohlone would be the correct answer that we accepted, although Chochenyo is a very good answer. That is the languages that were spoken, and to be more specific, the Huich, I cannot pronounce this and I apologize, the Huichian dialect is what was spoken by the people that resided in the area now called Lake Merritt, and of course our other areas around Oakland. There's also some evidence that the Bay Miwok people inhabited this area as well. So let's move on. What does a Secchi disk measure? Did I pronounce that correct, Katie? Or is it a Secchi? Secchi. So it's got that hard K sound.
If you're a student.
All right, I see a couple of good answers there. And the correct answer is water transparency, or turbidity. Would clarity be a accurate answer, Katie?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would accept clarity as well. Okay, and there you see the wonderful and fabulous Katie with some students that she's worked with doing some turbidity measurements. What students would you take out there? Katie, tell me a little bit.
So these students were Rose Foundation interns, and they were doing the Great Secchi Dip-In, which is a international water monitoring event. And Lake Merritt has been in that event since 2002, I believe, mostly with students coming out to test the water. And it is related to the quality of the water in different ways in different places.
So I'm guessing, and I'm not a water expert, but it looks like you lower that disc down there, and then if you can still see the markings, is that the...
Yeah, so it's a little tricky. You take two measurements, where you take the depth to where you can see it, and then where you can just not see it, and you average those two. That's the protocol for that. Great exam question to explain that.
Okay, let's move on to our next question. Now we're getting to the tricky stuff. What year was the pergola built? 1920 is not correct. 1894, although I'll give you a hint, it's between those two. Ooh, we're getting real close. Oh, and I see the answer. It has popped up. The correct answer is 1913. Interesting factoid. There used to be, it was a landing point for boats that would transport goods, livestock, and people. That park area right next to the pergola is El Embarcadero, which translates to the pier. This structure was designed by Walter Reed in 1930. I don't believe it is the same Walter Reed as the medical center in DC, but he also designed other iconic Lake Merritt structures such as the bandstand and parts of the Lake Chalet boathouse. So the pergola was renovated by the city in 2007. The next question we've got is, when was the Lake Merritt mid-century monster sculpture first brought to the lake? We're looking for a year here. Looking for a year. Oh, and I see it already. Excellent job there. The correct answer is 1954. Century monster was created in 52 and it arrived here in 54. Designed by sculptor Robert Winston. And if you see, there's one of his silver sculptures, similar shape, but the park superintendent, William Penn Mott, was inspired by that jewelry and asked him to create something similar. So I know my partner had spent a lot of time on that sculpture as a child. Well, she waited for the Lake Merritt joggers and striders and her folks to get around the lake. Hey, this is one from Katie. 2 reasons why Lake Merritt is listed as an impaired body of water by the EPA. 2 reasons.
Trash and oxygen.
Okay, we did need it in chat. I see low oxygen and too much urban runoff. Waiting for one that's got them both. See how we're doing. I see both answers. I'm going to put them in there and we'll figure out how to give out the t-shirts based on that. Trash and low dissolved oxygen. So that's the reason the EPA has listed it as an impaired water body. Katie, did you have anything to jump in on with
Yes. Oh, yeah. So there's so much we can do to improve both situations. We are actually mandated to reduce the trash that goes into San Francisco Bay by 2022, I believe, to 0 over what it was in 2009. And we're not quite there yet. And so it's very imperative for everyone to be careful not to what you throw on the ground because it will end up in the lake, and to help clean the lake. And there's an opportunity to do that with the Lake Merritt Institute. Check our website, lakemerrittinstitute.org, to find out for opportunities for citizen stewardship of that of the trash in the lake. And the other thing is that dissolved oxygen is maybe a little more indirect. What happens is all of the nutrients, fertilizers, dog poop, whatever that is put on the ground eventually washes into Lake Merritt and feeds a thriving community of bacteria which consume oxygen. And as we know, most living things need oxygen, and so we can have fish kills, and we can change the community of living things that can survive in Lake Merritt if we don't remove, take care of the excess nutrients going into the lake. So it's a really interesting story, and I urge everyone to go to the Lake Merritt Institute's website, take a look at some of the newsletters where we've covered this situation in detail over many years. But definitely, we want to take care of the water quality in our lake.
All right. Thank you, Katie. Speaking of stuff getting into the lake, in the 1880s, what percentage of the city's sewage went into the north arms of the lake? I will take this within 5%. And oh, Tony Bald hits it on the nose. On the first guess. So those, yeah, the thing is, as more and more people came, pipes got installed and people started having toilets in their house, and they just threw the wastewater from those toilets into the creeks, thinking, well, that will sweep it away from us. Well, that brought it to Lake Merritt. By 1884, 90% of the city's sewage flowed into the north arms of the lake, giving it the name, the Lake of a Thousand Smells, which it held on to for a while. And one of my favorite questions here, we probably all know that Alicia Garza is an Oaklander, but did you know that she made her infamous, not infamous, her famous Facebook post that inspired Black Lives Matter? From what establishment that is just a 4-minute walk from the wildlife refuge did she make that Facebook post, which inspired Black Lives Matter? Any know? You might know it's a used to be of a different name, pretty famous. I'm not seeing it. It's a place where she had friends. She and her partner were over there having a beer. Not the pergola. Not the bandstand. It was a place that they were not Lake Shelley. It's a good one. Just think, you're close to the wildlife refuge, close to the sanctuary. About a 4-minute walk. Getting closer. I'm still not seeing it. Oh, almost. Oh, David came so close. And Tony Bald gets it again. The correct answer is room 389, formerly known, I believe, as the Golden Bear. So yeah, I love that bit of trivia that this very important social justice movement really got its inspiration from something that happened just a couple blocks from the Wildlife Center. All right, this was mentioned. This is kind of a, were you paying attention during the presentation? What is the official bird of Oakland? There we go. The Markovich family has it again. And it's, as does Betsy Mathiasen. The correct answer is the black-crowned night heron. David, you had a great story about the night heron, about the sound. Do you remember talking to my class about that? I don't know if he's still online. Well, at any rate, they're trying to save the heron habitat by piping the sound of its calls into a place where they want the birds to rehome themselves. So sort of a fun thing. We've got a nice mural here by Chris Granillo of the Black black-crowned night heron and another Oaklandish shirt. I believe you can purchase that at Oaklandish. So there we go.
I have something to add.
Yeah.
If I may. So during the time that the black-crowned night heron was up for nomination as the city bird, I was carrying on email conversation with Rex Burris, who was a naturalist there, and he was somewhat appalled because the black-crowned night herons used to attack the nestlings of other birds, and he always considered them rather mean, but they certainly do have a definite demeanor that is characteristic of Oakland, and they're survivors and beautiful to watch in the daytime or the nighttime. So I just wanted to add that comment.
All right. And let's see what we've got now. This is actually, you can do a little bit of math here to get part of the question, but who created the Lake Merritt Wildlife Refuge, and in what year was it established? And there is a copy of the actual act that got passed. 1870 is correct. 150 years ago, someone, and Samuel Merritt. We got two people with the answers. We'll figure out how to handle the t-shirts on that, but it is, the correct answer is Dr. Samuel Merritt in 1870. He actually owned a lot of land around the area, and in 1869 he donated some acres
the nation's first
to build a
wildlife
dam
refuge. What a legacy!
Across the neck of the
something
inlet
to talk about,
to
and
the
something
estuary,
to
which
inspire
created
us
the
for the
present-day lake.
future.
And it became known as Merritt's Lake and later Lake Merritt.
Hey, Katie, there's a question from Parrott. How much trash is removed each month from the lake?
Oh, I would know that. I would. So it depends on, of course, on the month, because the trash is washed in a lot by rainfall. But really, thousands of pounds of trash are removed by only by the Lake Merritt Institute workers, by volunteer workers, also known as the A-Team, but also other volunteers from all over Oakland. They remove thousands of pounds of trash. I believe 80 to 100,000 or more pounds of trash in a year. That amount has been declining over time with some of the great regulatory legislation that's been passed. Go to lakemerrittinstitute.org and you'll be able to see the amount of trash over the year, annual collection, and also over a period of time since, I believe, 1997. It's been declining. It's gone down when Oakland passed its plastic bag ban, and then when Save the Bay and voters passed a ban as well on trash going into plastic trash going into being sold, which ended up being in the bay. So I don't know, Paris, if I answered your correct. Paris, by the way, works at the Lake Merritt Institute and really is out there on the front line looking at the trash and getting it out of the lake. So thank you, Paris, and all of the people who work with you, James Robinson, all of those folks at the Lake Merritt Institute. You do an amazing job. You know, it's they pull large things out of the lake, which some of us trash pickers cannot do. Things like scooters, mattresses, even a grand piano at one time. So they do an awesome job for Oakland and Lake Merritt.
Katie, there's some questions on how people can order t-shirts. Can they get them off of your website?
Well, we are actually not set up to do that, but if you would like to email me at ktnoon@aol.com. I will collect all those emails, and we can run another set of t-shirts. They're beautiful. We have both a Facebook page and a website that I put the link to in chat. If you'd like to check out some of the things we've been doing in partnership with teachers and with the Oakland Public Works Adopt-a-Spot program, we've been doing things. We've been following all of the COVID rules. It's important for everybody to be safe. Wear a mask, stay at least 6 feet apart, and and, you know, take care of ourselves. We're in for a difficult period. So it's really important to follow those rules, and we do with all of our activities.
I'd like to add that if people are interested in volunteering to pick up litter at the lake, bring down your own bag, walk around the lake. If everybody picked up 10 pieces every day, the lake would be in a much better place. So
we try
to
do that. We have several senior citizens that go out there and try to do that.
Good. If everybody did it, we wouldn't have a problem. So thank you for your efforts.
Yes, thank you. There's been a lot of citizen stewardship during COVID. It's actually, you know, it's really a wonderful thing, a wonderful feeling to come out and remove a bag or two of trash and leave the place better for the people who enjoy it and also for the wildlife.
All right, let's get back into it.
Yes.
When was the necklace of lights installed? What year was the necklace of lights installed? And, oh, we're so close. I'm going to give it, well, okay, there we go, Maria. Eventually someone gets it. It was 1925. First lit in 1925. Really interesting story behind every one of those lampposts. It was sold for $120, and you got a little plaque. And then, yeah, we'll talk a bit more about that necklace of lights in a later slide. All right, this should be a fairly easy one. What is the name of the house pictured here?
Oh,
The full name. Nope, not the Snow House. There we go. Cameron Stanford is the correct answer. Originally purchased a private home, it was purchased by the city in 1907, and then it became the first Oakland Public Museum until 1967. Nowadays, it's a separate museum, and I happen to know that they are pulling together some virtual tours of that, which are, I happen to have a secret private link, but they're probably going to be going public with that pretty soon. So keep an eye out for the virtual tour of the Cameron Stanford house. Okay, here you can be a little broader with your dates. In what decade was Snowpark founded? What decade? Nope, not the 30s, a little bit later. Getting closer with Maria. Not that close. A little later than 1940. And the 1960s. Okay, there we go. Snowpark originally included part of an old cemetery and later was the site of the Cutting Mansion, which after decades, I believe it's the same cutting as the Boulevard, became the Snow Museum, which included a display of stuffed animals, like game animals. The Snow, I forget his first name, but he was really a big game hunter. Just sort of interesting. Another fun fact about Snowpark is there is a putting green there. If you're a golfer, you can go out there and do putting. And they also have the Schilling House used to be near there, and there's some funky old gates there that are hard to get to. Yeah, we're seeing some stuff posted about. Gary Anderson posted something about the Oakland Wiki with Snowpark, so definitely check out those links. In what year and under what mayor was the city of Contra Costa renamed Oakland? Etienne asks us that. What year and under what mayor did Oakland get named? Let's give it to Robert Stewart. The actual year was 1850 by Horace Carpentier. Interesting story with this guy. He was kind of set up some political connections to get a key government position so he could essentially control the waterways here in Oakland. So yeah, some interesting stories.
Hey, but Chris, later to make up for his major land grab, when he passed away, he left the land that makes up the Port of Oakland and the Oakland Airport and the waterfront to the citizens of Oakland in perpetuity.
Is that now? I heard a slightly different story in that it really didn't get fully handed over to the citizens of Oakland until the 1960s. But maybe you and I can have a conversation and get the real facts on that, because I've heard some different stories about that.
We can all take that up offline. I think it had to do with some legal challenges.
All right. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, this is a shockingly, it's think higher than you want to guess. How many themed gardens are in the Lakeside Garden? Oh, nice guess with, okay. Katie, you are correct with 11. There are 11 different themed gardens, including the bonsai garden and the edible garden. I think that they have the, there's the Japanese garden, and then they count the bonsai garden as a separate one from that. So, yeah, 11 different gardens, a wonderful place to go. I think it's open right now during COVID that you can walk around. I could be
Yes,
wrong
it
on that,
is.
but I believe it's.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful thing. Did you have any comments or questions you wanted to answer in before I keep moving, Katie?
What is green infrastructure, and what example was recently completed around Lake Merritt?
Yes, that's from me, Andrew Young. I work for the County Community Development Agency, and yes, I'd be interested if people had ideas on what green infrastructure is, and we have some new examples of that around Harrison and Grand Avenue. I would give that to Robert Rayburn for one.
So, so Robert said bioswales. You want to tell us what that is, Andy, a bit, real quick?
Yeah, those are ways to capture water runoff, stormwater runoff before it enters the lake. It can capture trash as well as pesticides and bacteria that comes off the street, oil and grease. And this has been a practice of urban development in many developments recent years to try to treat stormwater before it enters the stormwater, before it enters natural bodies like Lake Merritt.
Is that occurring there on in the Grand Avenue Harrison area?
It's been included with the bike lanes there, and there's other examples you will notice by the Lake Chalet and certainly around the new stage area, all part of Measure DED.
Well, so we have some more as well. We have
pervious sidewalks.
Pervious sidewalks.
Carbon sequestering with trees.
Aerial sprays.
Aeration sprays.
Aerial sprays.
I'm not sure what that is exactly. What's being suggested there?
Roof water retention.
Yeah. Is there something
I don't
about
recognize the earth water retention unless it's through the landscaping.
There's something called like a rain garden. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
And is that located in the Harrison and Grand area?
It could be. I'm not that familiar. Oh, Robert Rayburn says a large bioswale is at 20th and Harrison, where the redwood tree is in a traffic island near Snowpark. There we go.
Oh, yes, that is a very good example.
Yes, yes.
And I think it's also very important for young people to know that when you aerate the water, gases come off, gases that we won't be taking in the water. So that's a really good way that we kind of clean the water. You'll see that at where we get our water from in Oakland. That if you go to the water plant, you will actually see one of the steps is aeration. It's really how we get rid of those gases.
And as you walk around Lake Merritt, and you notice the two fountains, one near the pergola and the other one at Harrison and Grand Avenue. Those two fountains are for the purpose of aeration.
That's right.
What they do is they mix the oxygen into the water because in Lake Merritt, there's a lot of decomposition at the bottom that consumes oxygen. And so that's kind of the function. And similarly, when you go to the water treatment plant, they have those aeration fountains to provide oxygen for the special mix of bacteria that they use to consume all of the organic material that is in municipal liquid waste that comes into their plants. So it's kind of all biological, knowing your biology, really important in trying to take care of the environment. So I think those were actually donations by Dr. Wong, who is a longtime resident of Oakland. He donated the fountains originally at the Pergola and at the Embarcadero, and also at the Glen Echo, and also there were ones at the Bandstand Beach, and there was one at 18th Street. But the interesting thing was that with the new Measure DD improvements, we had a lot more low tides, which would tend to cause the fountains to kind of sit on the bottom and suck up stuff that would destroy the motors, which is an ongoing bane of keeping those beautiful fountains going, is that they are subject to corrosion. So, yeah.
Interesting to me, Katie, that over the last 20 years since the Measure DD passed and the, what was it, $200+ million was raised, and it's been used to improve the environments around Lake Merritt, and has specifically impacted the development of what we're talking about, the green belt in the area of Harrison and Grand. And we just had a wonderful conversation about some of the detail and the elements of what goes into a green belt and what a green belt represents, from some sewer and stormwater mitigations and management and flood control to other installations. And the thing I find interesting about that today, and in the context of our program and the history of Lake Merritt, is that the green belt there along Harrison and Grand, and then you have Lakeshore Avenue with its green belt and Lake Merritt and its relationship to the wildlife refuge, and the impact of the vendors and the revelers increasingly over the last year or so. And when we even as we use the term green belt, and as we really hold the awareness of what goes into the development of green belt, the level of thought and energy and study and research and history and technology, but I'm suggesting that today we begin to realize that that same level of depth and consideration is going to need to be applied to more than just nature and more than just science. And I thought that was noteworthy.
Thank you, David. And I would agree wholeheartedly. To me, it's all science. But anyway, having gotten that word in, I want to point out to everybody that it's getting late, and we still have 46 people in this wonderful conversation, and we could go on a lot longer. And I hope that we can somehow get together again and talk about some aspect of beautiful Lake Merritt. It's always has something to teach us, always something cool going on at Lake Merritt, or that we can find out there. Can we finish possibly, Kristen, can we finish with maybe one more exciting trivia question, and then we're going to call it a night, and thank everybody for coming. Thank all the people involved in this attending and putting this together. It was really fun. So we're going to do one more trivia question.
Oh boy, I want to pick a really good one, although this one happens to be one of my favorites. Who knows what band's album cover featured the green monster sculpture? Who knows what band was featured that green monster sculpture? I'll give you a year. It's I'll give you some hints. It's an Oakland band. I believe it was in 1972 or the early 70s.
How about I try to sing one of their songs?
There we go. Let's sing it together.
And everyday people.
There we go. Kirsten.
We have let's see. Kirsten, do we have a winner?
Look at that.
I think it was herself.
I'm sorry, Katie. I just answered it.
Great. Okay.
Paul, I
Okay,
see
you're
that
the winner, Kirsten. You're the winner.
Yay, Kirsten. And thank you for doing a wonderful job of managing the slides and the chats and all of this. And thank you to Chris and to Patty and to just all of us working together. I'm just very happy that it's over, and that I'm also very happy that we did it. And Lake Merritt is, and the 150th is so worth it. What a legacy to continue into the future. Glad to see so many people continuing to be interested and to support the lake and everything about it. Thank you.